Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's racing show is brought to us by Dan Henning, Microsprint and Cage Kart Wings, Chad Rat Construction, and Brody Manning Motorsports. So tonight on the Josh Nolan and Oliver S. Full Throttle Racing Show, let's get these drivers warmed up. Let's get ready for a hot lap session. Tonight we have with us Mr. Jacob Latta out of the state of Kansas. Welcome to the show, Jacob.
How's it going?
Going pretty good.
Good. I'm happy, very happy to be with you on the show here. I appreciate the invitation to join you.
Not a problem. So, Jacob, let's talk about how you ended up in this awesome sport.
Uh-huh. Well, my dad grew up around racing. He did a little bit of racing. He raced stock cars and stuff like that, and grew up around it and wrenched on a bunch of cars, different kinds of cars growing up. And we actually have a micro sprint track here in town that my dad ended up taking over and running. And so we ended up getting into it and got into it pretty slow, and now we're into it pretty deep and pretty full bore. But really just was kind of a family thing. Just grew up in it and trying to carry on the tradition, I guess. But it's something me and my dad have always done, and we've bonded over, and something we're both really passionate about, and so it's real fun to go do that. And so we've been doing it for 12 or 13 years. We've been in micro sprints now, so I think this is full season number 12 uh
Wow.
coming up. So I think I was 12 when I started, and I am 25 now. So this will be our 12th full season coming up. So,
So, Jacob, when you first started, did you have goals that you had set up to kind of fight for yourself?
oh yeah, and being 12, 13 years old, I had some pretty far-fetched goals. Um, I've always wanted to go race at Knoxville. Um, when I was younger, I always wanted to race the Knoxville Nationals, but knowing what that takes now, yeah, that would be one heck of a feat. But just to be able to get on that track someday, it's such a famous track, and that's one goal I've always had, was to just get on that racetrack in any way, shape, or form, in any kind of race car. Um, Another one growing up was running the Chili Bowl, and that's still a goal of mine. I'd really like to get to someday. We really gave it some good thought the last couple years, renting a midget from a buddy of ours, and getting down there, but it just hasn't worked out. Our micro racing just got to a point where we needed to invest in it, and not go off on a tangent to run the Chili Bowl once. So we're going to be patient, and hopefully being patient for us pays off. But those are two big goals I've had, and now that I'm a little older, I have some different goals. Just bringing the car home in one piece and having fun is my number one goal. Uh, Going out racing, yeah, winning races is awesome. I mean, that's what everybody wants to do, but uh, you're not always going to win all of them, and it's good to load the car up in one piece, not have to work on it all next week or the whole next day. Or um, so my goals have changed as I've grown up, but they're still there, and we'll keep at it, and keep trying to get better every race we go to. So
So, have you achieved some of your goals that you have set up?
yeah, winning an A feature is probably a goal of most racers. I've won a few A features. Racing against some guys, showing up to a track and finding out there's a real big name there, and getting to race against them. Uh, is, and then you get that goal in your head. I want to try and race with this guy. I want to try to beat this guy that's a big name. And one guy I raced against was Gavin Bushell, and he is a stellar kid. He's a few years younger than me, but when he was coming up through micros, and he still runs micros some, but he's going to be a NASCAR someday. He's a wheel man, and I got to race against him in Sweet Springs, Missouri, and we traded sliders back and forth. And I had a goal in mind when I saw he was in my heat race, that I wanted to race him and give it all I got, knowing I'm racing against one of the best in the country. So yeah, you got them big goals, but I think a lot of racers have a lot of smaller goals too, from week to week, or night to night, or month to month, or race to race. We got a lot of goals, but just try to keep making the small goals, and eventually, hopefully, you get enough small goals done, you can hit your big goals. So
Yeah. So, Jacob, I was going to tell you, talking about Gavin Boschel, back when we first started this off with Facebook Live, we had him on the show on the
oh
Facebook Live version of it. Yeah. So, who are some of the other big race critters that you've raced against?
oh shoot, Wyatt Burks is a guy who kind of helped us get into micro racing, and
Okay.
I raced against him very few times before he got out and got into full size sprint cars, and he's running a 410 non-wing sprint car, and he's kicking butt. Um, and I think he's won the points in the league he's in. I can't remember if it's MWRA or what it is. He's won that a couple times, and another guy is Frank Galusha. He's a heck of a micro guy. I mean, anybody in micro racing knows his name, and I got to race against him a few times, and more times than not, he kicked my butt. But that's why he's a name associated with this sport, and someone I
Yeah.
look respect. And it's fun to race against those guys, because they're bringing the best of the best every week. And oh, thinking on the spot, tough. But just there's a lot of guys that come and go through this sport. It's such a developmental sport, to get on to bigger and better cars, if you want to say. Um, it's very developmental, and you get all sorts of different guys that run modifieds, that want to jump in something different, late model guys with big wing sprint car guys. Kyle Larson's jumping in a midget now, and Ricky Thornton Jr. And uh, there's been so many people come and go through that are now pretty good names in either USAC or driving World Outlaw sprint cars and stuff like that come from micros. It's pretty crazy when you look back at some of them guys' history, to trace it back to micro racing. And
Oh, yeah. So, Jacob, what's it like to be a race critter like yourself to win races?
for someone who's a diehard race car driver, it's one of the best feelings in the world. I mean, you just feel the biggest weight lifted off your shoulders when you cross the finish line, that final lap in first place. There's not, I can't name a feeling like it. But just that weight being lifted off your shoulders, and knowing you got it done, and uh, getting up and celebrating and putting a show on for the crowd. I'm all about putting a show on for the crowd, man. Uh, get up on your car, do a cage stand, do something cool for the fans. That's what they want to see. And hopefully on your way to up to first place, you put on a heck of a show too. So um, I I really do just it's all about the fans. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't be racing. And so putting on a show, and uh, man, it just, a win feels better when you put on a really good show, for the crowd on your way to do it. And getting up on the car, doing a cage stand, is just a feeling that I don't think anybody can get from doing anything else. It's just one of a kind, and it's something that's so special to this sport. Um, is is the feelings and the things that go with it when you win an A feature. I mean, that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's into racing to win it, win an A feature. That's the ultimate goal. And so it's, I want to say it's like winning the Super Bowl, but sometimes it is. I mean, it's just
So
an amazing, awesome feeling. There's tears sometimes, happy tears, and uh, so it means a lot. It really means a lot to not only me, but my dad and my girlfriend that we've been through this roller coaster of emotions that goes along with racing for so long, and so it's just one heck of a feeling that is unmatched, in my opinion.
so Jacob, how do you celebrate your victories then?
Oh heck. Uh One thing I like to do, and I got this from Kyle Larson, uh, is I like to do donuts and take my steering wheel and hang it out the side while I'm doing donuts, and then get out and stand on your car and do a big cage stand for the fans and get them hooped up and hooping and hollering and then after the race, I just like to hang out and hang out with my buddies and celebrate um, a lot of times after a win you talk about it forever. I mean, you just never stop talking about it, and you'll remember every little detail of that race. It's unforgettable. So
Yeah. So Jacob, what's a good day at the racetrack look like for you?
a good race day, you know get up in the morning, and see, where I live, we can't get parts after 12 o'clock, after noon. So we got to get everything ready to go before noon, in case we need any parts or anything. So if we can get through a good morning and get loaded up, we generally like to go home and take a little nap before we head out to the races. If we can get a little cat nap in before we head to the track, that's always a good day. Just
So we're
getting to
Go
the
ahead.
track about an hour before the races, hour and a half max. And just unload the car and not have to mess with it much. Go race and make few small adjustments here and there, and try to enjoy the night and not just work yourself to death and make it not so fun, and finish in one piece. If we can go out there and have fun and finish in one piece, that is a successful night. And if you win or finish in the top three, that's just a bonus. Uh, so that's a good night at the tracks. Just going and not sweating your butt off, wrenching on the car all night, making all sorts of changes. Which happens to everyone. But just a nice, relaxing night of racing with not too much drama or nothing too crazy, and just loading that car up in one piece and heading home, talking about the races that night and how they went, and what maybe you could do better, and you're already thinking about the next race. As soon as you pull out of that pit gate from that night, you're already thinking about the next race and what you can do to be better. So
So yeah, Jacob. So okay, what part of Kansas do you live in?
I live in Northeast Kansas. I live in Washington, Kansas. Real small little town of about 900, 1,000 people, if you count the rural people. Nice small little town. Nah, we don't have a Walmart or big old grocery store. We have a small local grocery store and two little gas stations, and so yeah, it's a pretty quiet little place. Nothing too wild, uh, except when we get the race cars going down here. That's one of the loudest things we ever have in this town.
So what's the name of the track that your dad took over?
It's just called Washington Speedway. It is a really fun micro track, and
And that's in Washington, Kansas, or
yes, sir. Yep.
okay.
Yeah, it's a high banked, fast little booger. It's been putting on some really good shows the last few years, and been really fun racing there, and we've had some really good car counts. So if anybody out there hasn't heard of Washington Speedway, bring your micro down, your junior sprint. It's a blast, and my dad tries to take really good care of the place, and he's got some really good people helping, and so it's been fun. But so
So let's talk a little bit about Washington Speedway. I don't know a lot about Washington Speedway. This is the first time I've actually heard of it. So
mhm.
kind of give me some information about Washington Speedway.
I'm gonna say it's like a 6th mile. A fifth is too big. It's like a 6th mile, and it's uh, high banked, uh, shaped kind of in a D shape. Uh, I compare
Okay.
it to kind of the shape of Belleville's big track, but really
Yeah.
small. Super high banked and super fast, and usually builds up a big gnarly curb by the end of the night, right up by the wall, and you got big slide jobs. It's been really fun lately. It's big and wide in the corners, and um, like I said, usually builds up a nice big curb, and we can rip around that thing or run around the bottom. It's been pretty 2 lane. The guys that take care of the track, man, they do such a good job prepping it for us. Um, it's super fast. It's been so fast. Probably one of the fastest tracks. Not biggest, but fastest. We just get carrying so much momentum around that thing. It's crazy.
So Jacob, okay, what's an awesome day at the shop look like for you?
At the shop, oh man, my dad and I, we like to work on stuff on the weekends, some evenings, and if we can, depending if you crashed or not. Depends kind of how your week goes. But if you finish in one piece, the week's pretty nice. You just do your general maintenance, which takes about 2 days, 2 nights for us during the race weeks, and um, show up, turn on some good tunes, and get the wrenches out, and uh, maybe drink a couple adult beverages or two, and uh, work on it. I never want working on my race car to feel like work. So you just got to enjoy it, have a little fun, play some music, drink a beer or two, and uh, work on your race car and enjoy it and have fun with it. It's such a fun hobby. You just got to keep having fun, because once you're done having fun, it's kind of defeats a lot of the purpose of racing. So yeah, and
Yeah.
then if you crash, your days at the shop get a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more stressful. But we try to manage, and we do pretty all right with just us two or three. So
So Jacob, where did your race car number come from?
oh well, I don't exactly remember, but I'm pretty sure there's some good friends of ours, the Leonards. They Dusty Leonard, he races late models now, and his uncle Bryce Leonard lives here in Washington, and he used to race as well. Well, anyway, Dusty's number was number 7D for Dusty growing up. So I wanted to be 7J, and that's been my number since the beginning. Um, and I think I'll stick with it for the rest of the time. That's just how it came about, and I'm pretty sure Dusty still is number 7D, and he's running late models with the big dogs now. So that's pretty cool. So
So Jacob, what's the communication like between you and your dad as on the race team? You guys get along pretty good together?
oh yeah, depends on how the night goes. I think the funniest thing about me and my dad's relationship, we work together, we race together, we spend a lot of time together, and sometimes with your old man, uh, sometimes that's not always awesome, but I think the funniest part about it is he doesn't get really super upset if I crash, or uh, you know, he doesn't really get super upset about that. But if I if I go out there and I just do terrible, I miss the setup. He won't talk to me for so long. And then when he finally does, he's like, all he says, he'll just say, "Well, that wasn't very good." And you're like, "Yeah, well, no crap."
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of it's just kind of a joke to lighten the mood, when maybe I don't do so good. Um, it's always just kind of been a little joke just to kind of brush it off, uh, move on and we're move on from there and put a smile on your face and just keep racing because we're doing what we love. So,
So Jacob, does racing ever get stressful for you?
oh yeah, it does. It does get stressful sometimes when uh, when you're working your butt off, not only at your job but on your race car too, and uh, some people that don't work near as hard uh, crash you or tear you up, and and that's one of the more stressful things is when you get real torn up and people don't respect your equipment. Um, and that's something that's stressful for us. But we just got to understand that it's racing and that's how it's gonna be for the rest of the time. But it is stressful sometimes. We try not to let it get stressful, but you know what? Sometimes it just flat is, and you just got to work through it, grind through it, and keep working and keep going back to the racetrack, and just keep going. You're not going to get better sitting at home or watching videos. It's the one thing about racing that's different than a lot of sports. A lot of sports you can go out and practice and get
Yeah,
really, really, really good, but in racing, you really don't. You really can't practice. You can go to a track and practice by yourself. But until you get other cars out there doing unpredictable things, there's nothing to prepare you for that other than racing. So you just got to keep grinding and keep going and keep getting yourself to the racetrack and doing what you need to get there. Um,
yeah,
and just take that stress away. Just keep going back and remembering why you do it. You do it because you love it and you're doing it for fun. So you just got to pound that into your brain over and over and over sometimes, and until you get through that, that stressful spot.
oh yes, definitely. So Jacob, what is your favorite racetrack you've raced on?
I hate to be biased, but it's my hometown track in Washington. I mean, holy cow! I it seems biased, but it's one of the funnest, most baddest, fastest racetracks I've ever raced on, and um, consistency is big too when picking a favorite track. Um, Consistency, it's so consistent. We only have 4 races a year here, and one in June, one in July, and then a 2-day race at the beginning of September. And I mean, to make your track almost the same for all 4 of those races every year after year is incredible track work, um, and just the battling that goes on here and the type of racing. And there's always passing in the A features and always action in the A features. And it's a fan favorite around here too. We've gained a lot of followers the last few years just putting on really good races here. So um, I'm trying not to be biased here, but it's
So
definitely my
why
favorite tracks.
so why is there only 4 races a year at that track?
So we're a
That
part of a group called J Husker Racing, and we race 4 or 5 different tracks every year in our series, uh, depending on what tracks want to have us, that season. And we split up races throughout the race season for J Huskers. So we've got 4 in Washington, and then Fairbury, Nebraska has 4 or 5 races, and then Clay Center, Kansas has 3 or 4 races, and we race in Concordia, Kansas, Beloit, Kansas, at the Solomon Valley Raceway. So we kind of, J Husker Racing splits up these races, and we race at a different track pretty much every week. We just bounce around from those 4 or 5 tracks, and kind of run our series that way.
Okay. So Jacob, um, at the end of your season, okay, before I get into that, okay. So what is your least favorite track you've raced on?
Oh, there's been some tough ones. Um, where did we go? Oh, we went one year down to this indoor race. It was supposed to be like a knockoff of the shootout, and it was in Guthrie, Oklahoma, at the Lazy E Arena. It
Okay.
was this is a pretty big race, and we were like, "Heck, we've never done an indoor race. Let's go down there." And
Hmm.
we had a brand new car that season. I hadn't really crashed it too bad, and it was still in pretty good shape. And like, yeah, let's go down there. I think it was in November, December. And we get down there, and this track is, I mean, it's like the size of an RC car track. It was tiny. And we're like, we were just thinking to ourselves, there's no way we're going to get these cars around it. And it was a 3-day race, and we were already paid our entry fee. And it was the smallest, slickest track. And there was probably 50 micros in each class. And we raced all day long, all night long, and just beat the tar out of that car. Oh man, it had so many dents and scratches and stuff tore up from that weekend. Uh, so I gotta say that was probably one of my least favorite tracks I've ever been to. It wasn't big enough for micros, and we drove a long ways, so we decided to run it, and we had a few regrets, but you know what? That's part of learning, I guess, and part of the experience you get racing. Uh, but all in all, it was a fun trip. It was a vacation for us. So there were still some good takeaways, but definitely was my least favorite track so far.
So Jacob, do you have a racing nickname?
You know, I have never really had a very solid nickname. Uh, some people have called me Jacob Leadfoot Latta. That's probably one of the more popular ones. But no, I've never really had a big nickname. I just never have. Nothing. Most of my nicknames probably aren't appropriate. But nope, never had one. But I think this year we're gonna have Leadfoot Latta on the visor of the car. So I guess you could say that might be my nickname for racing.
Okay. So Jacob, I have a racing nickname. I'm known as the Full Throttle Rock Star. That's because that kind of
It's
goes
all
with the show.
way better than
So,
mine.
so Jacob, how do you thank your sponsors at the end of your season?
Uh, you know, this year I got some really nice plaques made. No, it's not in here anymore. I had one in here. Um, but I had some really nice plaques made with a picture of the car on it that said thank you. With their logo on there, screen printed real nice, and I like to go hand that to them personally and thank them, and have a nice conversation with them, um, and ask if they want to do it again. And um, you know, any any single dollar helps helps our racing team, and I just let them know how thankful I am for helping us out. Uh, and so I always just try to thank them as much as I can and never stop thanking them. And I try to give them shout outs on social media and stuff, and support their small businesses and stuff like that. So it all goes around. A lot of small town racing revolves around small businesses. So I try to support them, and they support me, and So I just try to let them know how thankful I am, and try to do something for them at the end of the year.
Very cool. So, Jacob, who do you have for sponsors on your race car?
Well, a big one's my dad, of course. We have a plumbing, heating, and air business, an electrical business here in Washington. That I came back and started working for him. GWE Performance, Gary Edgar, he has a mechanic shop here in town, and he's one of the best mechanics I know. And he used to race micros actually, and he was really good and had good equipment. And so always known him, and he's been a big help, and I'm very thankful for him. And him having some racing background and knowledge sure helps too. Another one of my sponsors is Timberstruck Woodworks here in Washington. They started up two guys, Ethan and Chris, started up a woodworking and company that has blown up, and they make all sorts of cool, awesome, customized stuff now. Um, and so they sure helped me out a bunch. Um, Another sponsor is P&D Nooch, Deb and Perry Nooch. They're actually my neighbors. Um, and uh, Deb used to do Deb her and her mom used to do my dad's bookwork here at the shop. Um, so good friends, and they help me out. And so I just have them sponsors. We do a lot of it ourselves, um, and I have a hard time wanting to go ask people for money for a sport that is honestly a terrible investment. You know, you're most 95% of your race car drivers are not in it for the money, but for the love and passion of the sport. So every single penny them people uh, donate to the race team is so appreciated. So I try to do what I can to help them out and promote their business and stuff like that. So, and definitely try to get them on the car looking good, and um, hopefully my picture of the race car, they can see their names on them when they come up on Facebook and stuff. So we just try to let them know that we do really appreciate what they do.
So, Jacob, are you still looking for sponsors for your racing team?
Yeah, we're always open for sponsorship. There's plenty. There's always enough room on the race car for anyone that wants to be on there and help out with this program. Uh, it's pretty grassroots program. Just kind of been slowly working our way up, getting better equipment, and putting in the time to get better. And um, between me and my dad and my girlfriend, there's not too many other people that touch the race car. So
So, do you have a racing page that the racing fans can follow you on, Jacob?
yeah, I do. On Facebook, I have a racing page, Jacob Latta Racing. Yeah, go on there and follow that sucker. Um, we try to keep you up to date on there, and post some cool videos or pictures and stuff every now and then. And another thing I like to do on my racing page is try to shout out my sponsors and stuff when I can. So uh, hopefully I got a GoPro camera. My girlfriend got me for Christmas, so we're gonna hopefully have some cool footage to post on there this season. So
Okay. So, Jacob, be sure when this racing show comes out to YouTube, share it out with your fans, your
oh,
friends,
you bet.
all your drivers and stuff like that on your Facebook page. Yes.
Yeah,
So, Jacob, go
I'm
ahead.
upset. I'm upset that my internet wasn't working out with my race car. I sure would like to have it in the background, but we'll work with what we got. So
So, Jacob, you who helps with the design of your race car for each year for the paint scheme? Is that mostly
uh,
you, or
so last year's uh design, I would say, is probably what was probably 6 or 7 years old. Had been on the car for 6 or
Okay.
7. And Dad and I would just keep fixing the body panels and put some new stickers on when we could, or we definitely had to put a lot of stickers over scratch marks and stuff over them 6 or 7 years. But this year we're getting a new design. And I got a guy from Belleville. His name's Ryan Boyer with Wicked Designs. He does a lot of race cars every year, and he makes a lot of signage for the Belleville High Banks. And so he actually, that's funny you asked. He just sent me a proof today that I'm gonna keep to myself until we get the car done. Um, and it was pretty awesome. I wanted to go for kind of a vintage look. Maybe like an 80s or 90s midget, old school midget look. And so I think he knocked it out of the park. So I'm pretty excited to see what that looks like.
Okay, very cool. So Jacob, we did something pretty cool with this show. My co-host isn't with me tonight on this episode, but with a racing show, we'd like to kind of get you drivers involved in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So right now, we're going to do something pretty cool. We do this with all drivers. So we're going to throw the mic over to you. You can ask me some questions if you'd like.
Oh, oh shoot. Heck yeah. Uh, how did you find out about me, I guess?
Through Facebook, and the really crazy thing is that's how I found out a lot about all the race car drivers is through
Yeah,
Facebook.
it,
And
you
then
know,
this racing show has just been a dream. It's been a dream.
yeah, Facebook is a good place for racing, I guess, per se. There's a lot of race car pages, and it's easy to interact with different racers and stuff on there and look at what they're doing. And yeah, I use Facebook a lot for my racing and you know trying to promote myself and my sponsors and stuff. So cool. How long have you been
Yeah,
doing this?
been doing it since 2018, Jacob. We
Oh,
really crazy. Got a guy that races up here about an hour and a half away from me. I've been a racing fan for 30 years and just never got behind the wheel and wish I would have. But he's the one that shot this idea to me. He races modifieds and his son races flat car go karts. And they
mm-hmm.
approached me and said, "You want to work in the racing business? Here's what you need to do." And I was like, "Okay, so what are you talking about?" This says, "Host your own racing show, see where it leads you. We want to be the creators of this." Boom, boom, boom. I said, "Okay." We started up with 38 viewers with Facebook Live in 2018, and 2 years later, when we left to go to YouTube, we had over 2,000 some fans throughout the USA and Canada, which is pretty
Holy,
insane.
yeah, heck yeah.
Well, then now we're over on YouTube. We had to kind of start all over and build the fan base back up again. But 430 some subscribers and 13,000 plus views. We're getting there.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, that beats me. I don't have a YouTube, and I have 0 views and 0 followers on YouTube. So heck yeah,
Yeah,
congrats. Keep going. That's awesome. My
yeah.
be smaller time race car driver is pretty cool to get the opportunity to be interviewed. So I really appreciate that.
And we're always looking for sponsors. So your dad's company want to come on board and sponsor us? Go right ahead. Whatever. So yeah,
Hey, we sure might have. Awesome. I appreciate it. I sure do
yeah.
appreciate
So yeah.
patient here.
My racing hero growing up. A lot of people ask me, Josh, who was your racing hero growing up? I says, back in the day when I was growing up, NASCAR wise, it was the likes of Alan Kulke, Davey Allison, Rusty Wallace, Tim Richmond, and Earnhardt Jr. Well, I followed all of them guys, and then I got to Jimmy Johnson, and then also into Kyle Larson.
Mm,
Well, then sprint car wise, I don't know if you remember this name, Jacob, or not, but my big sprint car driver of all time fan was Doug Wolfgang, the Wolf, out of Sioux
yeah.
Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah, that
Oh yeah,
guy, his name is on a bunch of A feature win banners. Holy cow! Yeah, I sure wish I could have got to see some of them guys back in that day racing. That was them guys had some big cojones doing what they was doing back then. I mean, holy cow! But that's awesome. Yeah.
and looking back too, I was a Joey Saldana fan also, and you had talked about Knoxville. I had been to Knoxville Nationals 98, 99. was able to actually walk through the pit area after the final night of their competition. Had some really good interactions with drivers. Interacted with Stevie Smith. That was pretty cool. He does a lot of sprint car micro ring stuff, production stuff now. And then I was able to talk to Lance Blevins at the time and Shane Stewart, and then also interacted with Dave Blaney a little bit, and
Yeah, cool.
then also interacted with Ed Lynch Jr. out of the Pennsylvania Posse. Yeah, and definitely, yeah, some really good drivers. My final night of Knoxville Nationals competition, I always love sharing this story, was walking through the pit area, and that was the night that Mark Kinzer, I believe, won the Knoxville Nationals for the first time in the Mopar car. We were walking through the pit area, and just so happened I moseyed my way over to Mark Kinzer's pit area. And the car was all roped off and everything else, and I was just standing in line. Well, this person comes up to me and says, "Hey, who are you waiting for?" I said, "Well, I'd love to talk to Mark." I says, "Is he around?" I says, "Well, he's up in the press box doing all his interviews, but you could talk to me if you want and have your picture taken with me and definitely get my autograph." Lo and behold, Jacob, that was Carl Kinzer.
Oh heck, that's awesome. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. To
cool.
have that guy mechanic on any of your stuff. Oh
Oh,
my God.
no kidding. That guy won a lot of races too, and with his cars. Holy smokes! Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. But yeah, I love doing this for you drivers, working with you drivers, and everything else. When you get ready to kick off your season, I would love to have you back on here again to kind of give us an update as to what's
yeah,
going on with your season.
yeah, sure thing.
But
That'd be awesome.
but yes, with that being said, Jacob, I will let you step out. I will call you in a few minutes to thank you in person. Gonna kind of give a little racing news update, and then I will call you.
Perfect. That sounds good. I really do appreciate you having me on, man. I
Yep.
appreciate it. Thank
Thank you very much. Thank you.
you. Bet. Bye bye.
Bye bye. So, race car drivers, racing fans, fans of the Joshua Wonder and Oliver Russ Full Throttle Racing Show, taking part in something pretty huge. Go follow me on Facebook because we're doing the 90-day motorsports challenge. Nevertheless, the 90-day motorsports challenge. I select a photo each day, tag a driver in it, and to help grow the sport. It's to be passionate, to be active, to help grow the sport. So definitely, if you're tagged out, help grow the sport, and definitely thank you very much. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we're always looking for sponsors. Definitely come by, and if you want to sponsor us or be on the racing show, feel free to email us at jjnolan151 at gmail.com, or you can call or text us at 712-209-7138. Racing is just around the corner, dirt track wise, up here in the Midwest. Chase Randall and his team announced that they are coming back to Iowa because the World Auto race that they were going to race in this weekend has a really good chance of being rained out. So definitely. And then also big news out of the late model stuff. Bobby Pierce definitely is got himself into some trouble. He failed a tire inspection after a late model race. So, oh boy. And then also NASCAR wise, Bristol is just around the corner. So tell us who your pick is for to win the Bristol NASCAR race coming up. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, racing is just around the corner. Let's get ready. Let's get ready to go full throttle into this 2024. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, also Logan Rumsey and his team about have their 358 sprint car ready to rock and roll. Yes, and Bentley Kockelman also has his go kart ready, just about ready to go. They've got the body, they just got to get the numbers and everything else lettered and everything else, and they'll be ready to rock. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good night. Catch you later on another episode of the Josh Nolan and Oliver S. Full Throttle Racing Show, #1 on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.